Lad, no more of this trade talk. The draft period is nearly done. We're back into preseason. We get to see some players in the field. So what are we going to do now, champs?
Champ, this is the fun part. So we're going to do a little preseason preview. Essentially, what's going to happen is we're going to do 3 players each. So I'll talk about 3 players. You'll talk about 3 players. We're going to kind of talk about the up-and-comers first of how they crack into the squad. Then we'll talk about the mature players, towards the end. But also we'll make this a part 1 and a part 2. So we'll talk about some players now. And then the part 2, we'll finish off what we don't get through today. And then we'll also do a squad builder. So we'll see what the starting squad will look like coming for 2025. Yeah. So buckle up and let's get into it.
Let's go, champ. We're going to talk about some of our favorites and pull no punches as per usual. So stick around for the full allotment of this part 1 series.
And champs, I reckon, hey, we'll just go bang from 50 and we'll just get it started. We're filming this on a Tuesday. The boys did run a 2-kilometer on Monday. So, and champs, we're actually filming this on a Wednesday. My God, my brain is completely off, but that's all right. We moved, champ.
And the run was on Tuesday, champ. You've lost your head. It's the off-season.
I'm done. But boys, nevertheless, some of the facts is where did players finish in that 2-kilometer? And look, we're doing some little bit of bamboozling of the draft, of the more particularly how we get some of our players back into the squad. And that is no other than the hot topic himself is Ash Johnson. So we'll start off with him. What do we kind of want to see from this man? Well, boys, we want him to gain his confidence back. All right. That is the biggest thing. When Ash Johnson is up and about, he can play good footy. We've seen that in that 2023 season. Last year, confidence was in the bin, champ. After a huge preseason, we're talking him up. He's full of confidence. Doesn't really translate into this year's season. Now, champ, if you want to try to get your confidence back, what do you want to do? You want to come out on Tuesday and have a strong 2-kilometer time trial, right? Really set the standard for what you're going to deliver, considering we're kind of bullshitting the way this rookie category is working. And where does the man finish, champ? You want to finish the sentence?
Yeah, he didn't do well.
Unfortunately, for the people who did run and playing along at home, he did finish last place. Now, he is a bit of a bigger body, but still probably not for someone who is such a confidence-bound player. But the good thing is he pretty much excels, with his overhead marking ability and just his a little bit of his game sense moving around in regards to his footy ability more so than his running capacity. So there is some silver lining there. But what we want from Ash Johnson is have another big preseason like he did last year, where everyone was up and about how he was training and how can he translate that into the season moving forward. That's going to be a question that we're going to get a watch along for the next couple of months until the season starts. Maybe in some of the preseason games, he gets have a look. I know we'll be heading down to the ground and having a watch and seeing how the players move in these preseason games. And hopefully there we can see what type of glimpse that we can expect from him moving forward. So Ash Johnson, what do we need for him this season is a massive gain in confidence to get some of that 2023 ability back. Now into someone else, which is, trying to break into our squad. Essentially we have Ned Long as well. So he's big body man, comes in about 6'3", 6'4". We need from him, obviously he's got some good defensive ability. I would like to see a big preseason this year in regards to just expanding a little bit more on his capacity, like aerobic capacity there. But I also think his footy ability on the foot probably needs to improve a little bit. A lot of his disposals this year did come in the way of handballs. And we know what we're going to get defensively. He's going to put the pressure on. But I think for him to kind of crack into the squad is he's going to need a bigger tank to play out full games. And he's also going to be able to work on his right and left foot, darting the ball around and just getting that confidence. A lot of those balls he's getting is just those little shovel handballs when the ball spills out. So for him this season, I think capacity-wise needs a big tick there. And then also him kicking the ball around, getting those skills up and about. I know he's been in the VFL system for a little bit, but I think, training with the main squad and trying to really cement his spot for this year is probably going to be the biggest area for him. One more, champ, before I throw it over to yourself is, probably Reef McInnes, okay? Like, kind of the last roll of the dice, I think, from him. Now, what do we want from him? We want him to kind of lock into a spot. Is that going to be in a midfield? Is that going to be as a forward? He's kind of stuck in between the two spots at the moment. Um, even though he did initially get drafted as a midfielder, you'd still probably back his ability to play as a forward. He did average about 1 point, a goal and a half a game for us when he was kind of deprived of opportunities where, he was doing a solid job for us, just wasn't able to string a lot of games together. He would get picked. He'd either get picked as a sub. He'd still kick us 1 or 2 goals a game. There was a patch where he was averaging us 1.9 goals for, a fair few games. But for him this off season, it's just much similar to Ash Johnson. Is not necessarily the confidence, but he needs to go in there with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, like, hey, I've had some good success at AFL level. I'm proving that I can play in moments at AFL level, or games, I should say. Now I've got to show the coaching staff, hey, I can do this for you for 18 games. And it all starts in the preseason this year. So pretty much what we need from him is what we don't really need much. We just need him to prove to the coaching staff and the selection board that, hey, I'm better than just a sub. Hey, I can come in and lock down a position. So that's what we want to see from him, is hopefully can lock down a spot. I'm a big fan of him. I know you're a big fan of Reef McInnes as well, champ. So I just hope he shows enough that we can see a lot of him going into the next year. You got anything to add there?
I think with the 3 players you've touched on, because you mentioned Ned Long, Ash Johnson, and Reef, and I think with Ned Long and Reef McInnes, the question is, are they good enough to be more than a sub player? With Ash Johnson, despite being delisted, we know he's got the X factor. He's not consistent enough. But the question we're asking about Reef and Ned is, are they actually good enough to be an AFL player who can play week in, week out? That's the big question that we don't have the answer to, which is why when we say, well, what do you expect from them? Well, we just get another opportunity to see them develop at AFL level. And this year tells a lot more about Reef McInnes and probably Ned Long as well. And Ash Johnson on that one, just quickly, I think it's a good thing that he's on the rookie list now, and there's Membrey ahead of him, there's Mick Stay, there's Mike, because now he comes in through a different lens compared to last year. Like you said, we hyped him up, and then he shat the bed, and Collingwood didn't play well. So all these variables. This year, it's the complete 180. It's a different look for him moving forward. So I'm intrigued to see how he takes it all in this time round. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
No qualms on that, brother?
No qualms.
Good man. I've got a couple. So the idea with this, guys, is we're going to talk about the players who have more to prove going into 2025. Yeah. We know what Nick Dacos is going to do. We know what Josh Dacos is going to bring Pendlebury. That's fine. We'll save them for later, but we want to really dive into nitty-gritty of these lesser players, if you want to call it that. But one of those lesser players is Oscar Steen, and he missed the majority of 2024 through injury. Not saying he would have played at AFL level, but he would have been a frequent feature at VFL. And the fact that we saw Collingwood delist Aiden Begg before Oscar Steen probably suggests that there is a bit of optimism around what we can get out of Oscar Steen since coming to the club in the preseason period, along with Oleg Markov. So 2020 it would have been preseason 2023 essentially, or prior to the Christmas period, perhaps in the preseason draft, one or the other. So coming in as a 19-year-old around that time, the reality is, mate, I don't have a lot of intel on him because we haven't seen him play a whole lot. But when he's played at VFL level, he's looked okay. He actually was a nice tandem between himself and Begg, rotating through the ruck and the forward line. But outside of that, I don't have a lot for you. So it's going to be another case of, okay, we've got a lot of these players in this pool where it's like, are they good enough to play at AFL level, or are they there because we don't have high draft picks in a lot? We haven't had high draft picks since 2020. So what we do have is a good body of experienced players and players in that 27 to 30-year-old bracket. But then the reason why the Lachie Sullivans, the Ned Longs, the Reef McInnes, the Oscar Steens, they're all here is because we probably don't have that young elite crop. But they can, I'm not saying they can't be that, brother, but I'm just saying we don't have that crop, so they're there. You know what I mean?
I know what you're putting around. You're kind of dancing around it. But yeah, no, it is a fact, right? Like,
It is.
Are they fodder? Simple enough. Are they fodder? Are they just making up the team list that's required to go out? And if there's an injury, are they just going to go out and be that sub? Or are they able to show us something more? Is the big question.
Yep. And I know one of Oscar Steen's direct competitors would be on your list, so we'll leave him for you. And I know you're big on him. But we've got Perryman and Membrey up next. I'll put them together because what I would like to see as a Collingwood fan from firstly, Perryman, is to bring those leadership traits that the club and GWS have spoken to highly about, bringing his leadership over from GWS, help instill some knowledge and confidence in players like Isaac Quaynor, even Charlie Dean, if and when he features in the back line. And then when we do need a different look in the midfield, can we get Harry Perryman rolling through? But I from what I've seen and what I know of Harry Perryman, is we're going to get a player who is fundamentally sound and defensively aware, which is really important considering we have a lot of players that once the ball goes forward, their idea is to get forward. Perryman's going to be that guy who gives you that balance, that yin and yang. So that's probably what I want from Perryman. Is there anything you want to add to old mate Harry since he's new to the team, brother?
Nah, it's pretty much with all the new players is them just adapting to the Collingwood playing style. And that's the whole reason preseason is there for, is there, get your laughs in. What do the laughs relate to? The synergy within the team. So as long as they're in the chat, like you see them on social media already featuring and obviously they're going to be the highlights, showing the Collingwood fans what they're about. But from what I've seen so far is it looks like they're showing their personality. And that is a good thing because you want them there. You want the boys cracking laughs because that's going to translate over to the field where they're going to be one cohesive unit.
Have you heard his accent, lad? Perryman's accent? Is the second coming of Jonathan Brown. I promise you. That real husky, Aussie, bogan sort of accent. So that was an observation of mine outside of his footy antics. And then we had Tim Membrey, of course. Really a steal when we look at it in retrospect. Is someone who wasn't really spoken to too much about in the free agency period. The fact that he was only offered a 1-year contract at St Kilda. He clearly was just seeking a bit more job security elsewhere. Collingwood were willing to come to the party, offer a 2-year contract. I just want to see this man play. He's had some personal issues off the field. So hopefully if he can get his ducks in a row off the field, we know what he's going to give us on the field and just adds further competition in that tall forward domain, which we lacked last year after Reef McInnes, Ash Johnson, Mychek being injured, all these players sort of having their own issues in one way or another. So that's what I'm hoping for with Membrey, just to be on the field.
Yeah, be on the field, kick a few snags. Help us, lock up that top 4, top 2 grand final. Yes, whatever happens, whatever happens, yeah. But you did mention Oscar Steen. The opposing view of that is Eiler Smith. Then big season, mid-season draft. Well, we'll rewind the clock. We did the watch along for you guys didn't know. We're going, hey, who is this bloke? Wasn't on any of our radars. He seems like a bit of a project player. Watched him in the VFL, watched him a few games. My God, boys, how athletic he is for such a big bloke. He gets around very well. And he also translates that in the ruck as well. He just hits that ball forward, runs onto it. He can actually, for the games I saw, he actually can kick the ball pretty straight at goal and slot a few snags. The biggest thing for him being so young, and what I want to see from Eiler Smith this preseason, and it's kind of a good thing, champs, for him being a mid-season draft, right? Because as soon as he came in, they said, hey, he's probably not going to play this year. So we got to look at it the lens of, okay, he's going to have essentially all this added time as a pre-season to get himself ready for potential selection this year and just getting used to the AFL system. And then also for him, I just want to see him pack on a little bit of size. He's quite lanky. You don't want to pack on too much size where he's not going to be as athletic as he is now. But you got to think about it. It's not TAC level anymore, coach league level. It's actual grown men. So you need to develop your body in a way that you can withstand those big hits and those mature ruckmans as that probably have bloody titanium shin bones. You know what I mean, champ? So, champ, that's my biggest thing with him. And I think he could, I don't know, from the VFL games, I reckon he could could come in sometime this year. And maybe, I'm not going to say he's going to play a lot of games, but he could be ready for making his debut next year.
Is that your hot take, lad? Is that your hot take?
That is my hot take. Heard it here first, all the way in November 2024. Eiler Smith debut game sometime this year.
Fuck, didn't see that one coming, lad.
If it comes early in the season, boys, we're cooked where the injuries are piling up, all right? But I'm saying back end of the year, you might be proving something in VFL. He might get a sneaky look with his ability to play forward just a little bit.
True.
But biggest thing is to pack on a little bit of strength, a little bit of size without hindering too much on the athletic ability that he's already got. So that's kind of what I want to see from Smith going into this year. You got anything to add to that?
No, besides the fact that he beat Di Mattia in the 2km time trial. I don't know where he finished amongst everyone else, but the fact that he's beating someone like Di Mattia who wants to be a winger this year, I don't know. Interesting. Good runner, man.
The longer strides, mate. Give Di Mattia a little bit of a break, huh? 4 steps for him is 2 kilometers.
Just because I think Di Mattia is your height, lad. 6'1" or 6 foot.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah, something like that. 6'1", huh? Yeah. But no, then on the opposite side of the spectrum, we've got Dan Houston, obviously coming across. Going to play a huge role for us in the defense. Kind of somewhere we've been lacking in terms of being able to rebound the ball very, very well. So, this year averaged about 480 meters from meters gained. So he's kicking to advantage. So that puts him in the elite category there. So much similar. He's mature. Do whatever you want. Just get to learn the system of how we like to play, how Collingwood in particular likes how to defend, that come full to defense mentality. That's going to take a little bit to adjust to, but he's going to provide so much to us down back. But that's, just main thing with these new players, especially those mature, we'll call them A-list signings, is, do whatever you want, just get in, become one with the team and just learn the game plan. We just talked about Harry Di Mattia. I will chuck him in now. The Hill, champ, just got a whole lot fucking bigger for him to crack into the squad with all these new signings, right? Like the Hill last year, it's lazy, just up the road, you know what I mean? Now he's looking at Mount Everest, man. You got some bloody big signings in the defensive lineup. So I don't like his chances, champ, of being able to crack into this squad. And that's probably why he's trying to flirt with this wing idea of, okay, our wing stocks are a little bit lower. How am I going to envision myself getting into the squad? Well, that Hill with Perryman, Houston, they're locking up spots. I would have to pivot. So he's probably going to flirt with his wing idea. What I saw from him in VFL, he was able to rebound the ball. He's quite daring with the way he kicks, able to slice the game open from a defensive half. I don't know what that means for him being on the wing. Does he play as like a defensive side winger? How does that translate? But that's the beauty of the preseason preview, is you don't have all the answers, but you guys can note now, hey, he's trying to crack into this wing position. So let's see what he can do going into the offseason, and see, when we have those black versus white games where it's an intra-club, that's where we're going to really see, okay, can he cut it? Does he have the aerobic ability to run out those games? How hard is his repeat efforts? How good is his anaerobic capacity as well? His ability to run and keep stop-start running instead of your aerobic where you just go on one long continuous run. So that'll be a good one. That'll be one to watch. Maybe he really comes to his own in this wing position, champ. You got any more information about him on the wing?
No, besides the fact that it was good that he publicized it, I think there's power in that, manifesting it, and then also putting out to the fans that, hey, we want to see Demeter on the wing now because, as you mentioned, Perryman and Houston, and then if we roll into a couple of players I've got here who are also in the same category, if we want to make it even more condensed, you look at TJ, who's in that conversation. We can probably agree that Demeter is probably ahead of TJ if Demeter is healthy. Yes, TJ got that opportunity against North, but at that time, Demeter was sort of just recovering from his finger injury and finding his way back into the VFL standard. And then I've also got Will Parker, who did play a couple games this year. He played well in that final game against Melbourne, albeit it was match simulation, really, if we're being honest. Kicked his first goal, fair enough. Like, it was good. So it's a large pool to pick from, man, the half-back flank. So these players, these younger players in particular, have to be ready to diversify. And TJ finishing, I think he finished 4th or 5th in the first or 4th year 2KM time trial. So I think if you're a half-back flanker these days, you probably need the ability and versatility to be able to play on the wing as well, I think, at this point.
Yeah, you gotta think about it. Like, you gotta be dynamic and show you're able to play multiple positions, because you see it a lot where guys are coming through and, hey, I've always been a star at my local footy team, for example. I've always played in the midfield. And you think about it, you go to these coach league, elite pathways. Well, everyone there's an elite midfielder. So you're going to have to try play another position. And this is what these young guys are facing on how they can crack into the squad. So they got to show some other way to pretty much figure out how they're going to crack into the squad and kind of weasel their way in.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately for Charlie Dean, I don't think there's any other position besides playing that second or third key tall. Yep. I don't think that third key tall position's a reality for him right now, because he's probably behind the likes of Maynard and Howe, who do that role. They share that role pretty well. You'd probably say Howe does it more than Braden Maynard. But then, is he too small for the second key tall defender? It's a hard question to answer, because he's the same size and height as what Nathan Murphy was, and played that second key tall defender size role really well. I just don't know. Brother, maybe we're a bit harsh, because Charlie Dean got towed up against Sam Darcy that game we watched him. Sam Darcy ended up kicking bloody 10 in one game later in the year. He ended up being one of the best key forwards in the league at age 20, 21, however old that kid is. I think this year, with clean slate, no injuries, he's got a little taste of what it's like at AFL level. Now we'll find out. Much like Ned Long, much like Reef. All right. Now we know. Now we're going to know. Is he good enough, or is he just a really good VFL player? That's what we'll find out with a lot of these players.
Yeah, they've got that benchmark on what to expect at AFL level now. So hopefully they're tailoring their programs around that. You know what I mean? Or they just it's a little bit different of, like, you've been training, it's your first preseason, and what you think it expects versus the reality. And these players know what the reality is now. So they know what the standard is. They know how hard they have to work. So hopefully, it's the age-old classic saying, you're going to have to train the house down preseason.
Classic.
Simple as that for Charlie Dean, right?
Who was that? Who was the first one?
A little bit of a starter channel. Let's go, champ.
You're up, brother. What have you got for me?
Look, this is a little bit of a not a necessary up and comer, but someone who's proved their spot. But someone that I would still want to see in the midfield is Beau McCreery. We saw him. We know what we're expecting from him in the forward position, in the forward half. We saw him in the midfield this year for times and Spurs before he got injured and whatever. But for him, I still liked him as that defensive midfielder coming in there. We saw him play really well as a midfielder. Defensively was elite, really, really good. A lot of pressure acts, a lot of tackles. For him to go in there and lock up that midfielder, if that's what he's endeavoring to, and I hope he does endeavor to play the midfield, because he can be very dynamic and so powerful in there for us, is he needs to work on two things. Obviously, his gas tank's got to be there, but also we talk about a game of two sides, right? What you do on the offense and what you do on your defense. Just off the top of my head, I believe it was only 8 disposals when he did play in the midfield. I think it was against Carlton, if I'm not mistaken. And then he only ran at like 50%, maybe even lower, 40% disposal efficiency for the game. And didn't prove much on that side, but he did prove that he could keep up with the game of the speed in the midfield, and he could also work defensively very well. And that's kind of what we needed from him at that time. For him to really lock up that midfield position is to be able to kind of like Ned Long, how I was saying, proves us on the defensive side, but needs to be able to show us some offensive ability, especially in tight, in congestion, flicking handballs, and being able to kick under pressure with a lot of people around you and become that 360-degree player instead of just playing what's in front of you, being able to read what's around you. Nick Dacos does that amazingly. Perfect example of what a 360-degree player is. Pretty much a player that's got eyes on the back of his head, right? Beau McCreery needs to start developing that, maybe becomes a 270-degree player at the, by the end of the preseason. It's not going to happen instantly, but he needs to be working on that this offseason. And if he's able to show that, he's going to be in for a good season, and hopefully we can see him in the midfield. You got anything else to add there, champs?
No, besides Carlton was the game where he got Gala-nicked, and then that exact game you're speaking about, you're pretty fucking close. He had 8 touches against the Bulldogs, and he had like 37% kicking efficiency. So that was the game you're thinking about. And like you said, he's similar to Ned Long, same sort of category. I don't really have anything to add there, brother. You've hit the nail on the head there.
But like, boys, at the end of the day, he's going to be featured in the squad. This is just his ability to push in the midfield. If not, amen, park it in the forward line. I'm happy with you there. Beau McCreery on the field, I'm happy either way.
Yeah.
Our man, go into next, number 33, Sully himself. What do we need to see from him? Need to see him in the VFL squad. But nah, he's all right, champ. He's all right. With Lachie Sullivan, like, he's just, I don't know. He's just a hard player where he's just like elite at the VFL level, but at AFL, there's just like something missing. And for me, that something missing just seems like he's stuck in second gear. Like the pace of the game is, I just feel like he's like running in mud a little bit. And I think if he's able to show what he can do at VFL level, as easy as that is to say, but somehow make himself quicker, and not quicker, necessarily more explosive, I think that's what he needs to do. So get out there, get the sprints going, get the bloody weighted 20 kilo behind you and do some explosive work. I think that's where he can excel here. You got anything, champ, for him, or?
He probably just, he looks slow as well sometimes in his decision making, which makes him look even slower at times. He reminds me of Tom Mitchell, just clearly not as good. And the question is, if he gets a full preseason at match intensity, can he keep up or match the speed of decision making? And then also, he played a lot of forward in the VFL, and then when he came back into the AFL side, he did play a bit of forward as well there. So the question is, can he kick goals like he's able to at VFL level when he does rotate into the forward line?
Yeah, and then I think that's about it for him, to be honest. Like, just get that explosive work going on, smarten up on those decision makings, and he can potentially be a pretty decent, handy player, especially a player like, I'm not closing the door on him fully, but if there is a couple of injuries and we need some depth, he could do something well for us there. Another player that I'd kind of excited to see as well, champ, is one of my favorite players actually. Is Isaac Quaynor. Man, he's living it up in New York at the moment. There's two ways this can go. All right. What do I want to see from him this year is find more that 2023 season that he had, where he was able to intercept the ball about 2.5 intercept marks a game. That dropped this year quite considerably. And he was a one-on-one beast, in most years that we know him, whereas last year, not so much. And we were trying to put the finger on are we not seeing him? They're not kicking him the ball because he's got that reputation now? Or is it because he's got that reputation? Or is it because we're just not seeing him, right? Like what was happening? And I think it was a little bit of his confidence down, fitness, maybe potentially. He did bulk up the fucking huge. So I'm just hopefully he can go back to that 2023 season, get that intercept mark. I think being able to have players down there like a Dan Houston, who is a very good comparable for him, I think is going to do us a world of good. I think he's going to be able to learn a lot from him and just elevate the game. And I think we can say pretty much about the man you've got as well is Maynard as well. Like having those players down there with Houston is just going to really cement our black backline and be very solid. So I want him to just solid up there, intercept mark. But hey, champ, I still like the idea of him on the wing either as well. What are your thoughts there before I deep down? Like if I go too far into it, like you still like that wing idea, or?
Well, I'm going to hold my word to myself, and like I said, if you're playing on the half back line, then you're probably going to have the ability to play on the wing if you want to stay in this side as much as possible next year.
Yeah, and that's why I still like that position. I remember when he lined up whatever game that was on the wing, was involved in the first play. I'm like, hey, boys, this is a stroke of genius. We have absolutely called this to a T. This is his new home. Then it was Galanita. We didn't see him for the rest of the game. But besides that, I'd still want to see him on the wing. I think a lot of these more mature players, like your Isaac Quaynor, your Josh Dacos, who's going to be playing that half-back role with the new backs that are coming in, I think there's going to be some experiments we're going to get to see in preseason to see, okay, what's going to work here, this, that, to really see how they can fit the players in. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see IQ load up on the wing. Hopefully we don't see Josh Dacos push back onto the wing. I really like him in that half-back position. But we'll see with the preseason going on and how it ends up tracking.
Yeah. I think, brother, if you put pen to paper, I reckon we'll struggle to put Josh Dacos in that back six, but maybe we'll save that for another video because that's an interesting topic within itself. There's that many players there that play similar roles. So we'll see. It's an interesting one. Did you do three? You did what'd you do, bro? You did Beau?
I did Beau, Lachie, and IQ.
You did Sully. Okay, cool. So I've got Bobby Hill, and the only thing I would like to see more of is less of the Bobby Dazzle to a certain extent. Find that balance. And I think he, with 23 and 24, I think he'll probably be able to reflect on it and understand what is the right amount of showboating and not showboating, but selling and trying to balk your players and whatnot versus I've just got to kick the ball. So I'm not going to get too deep into it because I really think that's the only thing Bobby needs to work on to take his game to the next level. He tries hard enough. So I'm happy with where Bobby's at the moment. However, Billy Frampton is still with us. Okay. So look, we'll call it a clean slate, brother. We're not going to hold grudges. He won us a flag in 23. He played well in 23. 24, he had some good games. But the problem is his good versus his bad was too much, right? And as passionate fans, brother, sometimes we say things we don't mean on a personal level, but we're passionate, like we're just passionate, man. He's got another opportunity. He's got another opportunity to help out Darcy Moore. He does. I don't know if Charlie Dean's up to it. So he asked me, well, what are we going to do? I mean, Billy Frampton, he's still there. Maybe people were saying Reef McInnes. Some people were saying Ash Johnson. I still think Billy Frampton is probably ahead of them. He just needs to be a bit smarter. We've seen some decisions he's made on the field, bro. It's not like he's done something because he's unable to move. It's like, oh, you've just turned around and completely clobbered your player while the ball was going over your head when you maybe could have contested it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know, man. I know. As soon as Frampton gets out of position, the player behind him turns into his missus. All of a sudden, he's hugging him.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Hey, baby, come here. And he's
Yeah.
giving away a free kick. Like, that's some of those things where you need to smarten up and try stay within the contest as best as you can. The thing is, at the start of the year, if you guys go back in the Pies Footy archives, we were drumming him up. We were saying, hey, he's Darcy Moore's father. Like, he's the new becoming of Jesus. Like, we were all aboard the Frampton trade. And then he started doing some interesting frank decisions, and we kind of fell away from that. But if you cast your mind back, you think about those early games and when he was able to get the consistent run before Fly flew him to the forward line and pretty much kind of killed his confidence. It was not confidence. Maybe it did kill his confidence a little bit, but it's a whole different beast playing in the forward line, the way you read the game. And then by the time he swung him back, the damage had been done. He couldn't refine that form that he had very early on in the season. So hopefully we get that early 24 season Frampton. I'd be happy if he can play that and lock that down. I'd be happy to see him in that 25 season, even though he will do some frank things like Billy Frampton, man.
Billy Frampton. Give me Ed Allan.
Ed Allan. All right, Ed Allan. Why not, boys? We'll lock it in. Well, what did we see from him? We saw him play 2 games this year, I believe, off the top of my head. Came on the wing. You're thinking, fuck, he's pretty big for a winger, like 194 centimeters. What can we expect from him? Well, I think a lot of people in our team he's going to be competing with now. We talked about Harry DiMatteo. We talked about the possibility of IQ floating back on the wing as well. Defensive stocks have been bolstered, and players are going to be challenging for that wing spot if they're kind of that athletic halfback type of role. So I think his mountain isn't as high as some of the other players to break into the squad, but I think we just need to find some more, I guess, what thinking about his games in the AFL, champ, I don't think he showed enough. I didn't think of like, hey, Ed Allan, this is what he's known for in those games. I think what we need to see from him this preseason is what makes him different from all the other rookies that come in and get delisted. I think that's where we're going to see. Obviously, his point of difference is his height and his ability to play on the wing. But I didn't really see that translate too well into the AFL level. So I want to see how he can come in and try lock into a position. I think he's there athletically. I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen much of him in the VFL, so I can't really comment on his foot skills. You got anything to add on maybe some footy ability that he needs to be working into?
I think the question was, well, where's Ed Allan going to thrive? And is it on the wing or in the midfield? When he played in the wing against Fremantle, he got towed up by Jeremy Sharp and didn't have a great game. Went back to the VFL after that, and in his final month in the VFL, had a really good purple patch on ball as an inside midfielder. And then he came in against Melbourne and played as an inside midfielder. We've moved the magnets there, brother. We pushed Q back into the half-back line. Josh Dacos was also on the half-back line. We pushed Crisp onto the wing to allow Allan to come in and play on ball. So that's what ended up happening there. And that's why there's a bit of hype, I would say, around him because of his contested ability inside. But the question is...
did he slot a goal that game?
Yeah. He played well. Yeah. The question is, can he find his outside game? Because he can do it on the inside. It's just how crafty can he be with disposal by foot, really. So we're gonna be careful, man. We do have to be careful. Like, we hyped up McRae like crazy, who was in a similar path and was killing it preseason. I'd hate to see the same thing happen to Ed Allan.
Yeah, and I think McRae is a player that we're gonna have to touch on the part 2 version of this champ. Yeah. But hopefully we can find that form for him that he found in the preseason and translate that over. You want to wrap us up here and do the last player?
Yeah. Last one. Let's do an interesting discussion let's go Tom Mitchell. Now, I feel like we'll know pretty quickly with Tom Mitchell whether he's going to be past it or not. We talk about the speed of the game, maybe moving beyond him now. He's a smart player, man. I've said it before. Tom Mitchell's a soccer player. Maybe he plays till he's 40 because he's so smart and has a great intellect. But unfortunately, if you can't run, brother, and you can't move left to right, it's a tough sport to be in, isn't it? So that will be one of the questions. He started poorly in 23 and then bounced back really well against Hawthorn and Brisbane at the Gabba, and then really never came back with his foot injury and stomach issues. So there's a light down there. What do they say, brother? Light down the tunnel or something like that? What they call it?
There's a little bit of light down the tunnel, huh?
Yeah. I'd like to see him do well because it would just help add competition to that inside midfield position, which is a bit of a question mark at the moment. So I think we'll leave that at that, lad.
Yeah, very nice. And Cham, just thinking out loud, I mean, we've got a couple of players left. We'll save that for part 2, and maybe we'll even draft up a potential squad as well. Yep. I reckon. What Pies Footy will think the starting lineup will be? Yeah,
we'll do that for sure. Well, the back six is going to be interesting.
Sexy six.
Shout out, bro. All right. Let's leave it for part 2, and we'll see you guys in a few more days.